Good afternoon and welcome to Mike and the Hoss on Wolfeboro Community Television. I'm Mike Dene.
And I'm Charlie Hossack.
Today on our agenda is going to be typical. We're going to talk about some Kingswood sports. We don't have Patriots today, though. I think we're done with Patriots for a little while.
Yeah, we'll shelf them for a while.
Yeah, the Red Sox, the Bruins, and the Celtics. I didn't get the memo about formal day, Charlie, so we'll have to communicate a little bit more next time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so let's start with some Kingswood sports, Charlie. The hockey team only played once. We run into some weather. They had a game down in Timberlane last week. They won. They should have won that game.
Good.
And as expected, Drew Swinnerton got his first varsity goal.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is exciting. But a win's a win.
Yeah.
And
It was a big win, right? It was 6-1?
It was 6-1, yeah. Timberlane, their program's struggling, and they won the championship a few years ago, so they definitely dropped off, but they had some numbers issues.
Who was playing in net?
That was Vitanzi.
Okay.
I'm sorry, wrong.
Oleg?
I'm wrong. Nope, it was Luke Cassidy.
Okay.
Got his first varsity
Oh,
start.
good. That's great.
And he did a nice job. So the boys are playing at UNH tonight. Tonight's Friday when we tape, so they're at UNH playing at the Wit. So that's a big game for them. It's a big ice surface against Oyster River. They beat Oyster River earlier this year. I think they caught Oyster River by surprise.
Oyster River's a good program.
Oyster River's doing well. They've won 7 or 8 in a row. I think they're in 4th or 5th place. So it's going to be a good test for the Knights to see where they stack up.
That's exciting.
They need this. They also play tomorrow. They play Monday. They play Wednesday, and they play next Saturday. So they got a lot of games coming up.
Saturday's it, and then we get ready for the playoffs.
Yep. Girls team?
Yeah, girls. So similar to the guys, we had 2 games postponed this week because of the weather. Last weekend they played against Berlin, and we've talked about Berlin before. Tough program.
Yep.
They came down and they beat our girls. But I continue to say this. I know I sound like a broken record, but the girls are getting better. Their defense is coming along, and I think in the next year or two we're gonna get some wins, and the program's gonna definitely is gonna head it in the right direction.
I was able to catch a little bit of the game the other night. We sat in the booth together for a little while, and it seemed like a very positive experience for those girls.
Yeah.
It seemed Coach Landry seems to be doing a nice job with them.
He is.
They had sparks. They played the game that I saw. It was Berlin, and that is tough. That's a tough competition. They played Manchester Central yesterday.
So yesterday that was a tough loss. That was a little heartbreaking for the girls.
Yeah.
They're still pretty positive, but they had beat Manchester Central in their first game 10-1, and then Manchester Central returned the favor yesterday, and it was an 8-2 loss.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It was tough. We were missing a key player. Jill Luby wasn't able to be there because of her skiing commitment.
Okay.
But still, it's kind of a bummer, especially since going in similar to the guys. Now the girls have 5 games remaining in the next 8 days, and only 2 of those games are at home, so they're on the road for 3, and we have to travel up to Lebanon, so they've got some time on the highway coming up.
I'm guessing that this is the case for all the teams, that the weather, the snow cancellations have backed them up. We talked, the boys have 5 games in the next 7 days.
Yeah, same as the girls.
And it's really going to make or break their season. They can get all the way up to 4th or 5th place with a good run, and they could get knocked out of the playoffs if they don't show up. So
absolutely.
It's a big time. I know the girls are probably not looking at playoffs.
No, they're not looking at playoffs for this season. They're certainly going to be cheering on the guys as they head to the playoffs. That's going to be exciting. It's nice to see a lot of the guys and the girls supporting each other, and that's awesome. And we always see Coach Potenza at the girls' games, which I think is nice to have that camaraderie and spirit. I think as we kind of moving forward with the season, I hope the weather. I don't look at the weather much, but I'm hoping the weather will cooperate this week, because if not, we go into school vacation and we got to play the games.
That's right.
So
and the Knights need those games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basketball team, I was able to catch senior night last night.
Okay.
The girls still haven't been able to really get on the right side of the scoreboard. I talked to Amanda LaParche, one of the captains of the team, and the one comment that she had is, "We're playing much better.
Good.
We're competitive in these games," and she was feeling really good about it, because the last time I talked to her a few weeks ago, she wasn't feeling as great. The team was a little bit down. They seem to have a nice rotation going, a little bit of youth, a little bit of experience, and they seem to turn the corner a little bit. Hopefully they can squeeze out a win or 2 before the season ends.
I hope so.
I don't know exactly what they have on their schedule, but it'll be nice for them to end strong. The boys team, we talked about the last-second win against Kennett last week.
That's awesome.
They played some tough games. They lost last Friday to Sauhegan, who was a top 5 team in the state, by 4. which
So played them close.
In basketball terms, that's a close game.
That is a close game.
Matt Place, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, had a nice game. Brogan Shannon continues to have a nice game, and Richard Kern is putting up some points now, who's a senior for them, and so they're getting some balanced scoring. Coach Place, he's got them going in the right direction,
Right.
and that's all you can really ask for right now. Is are you moving? Are you improving?
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Place seems to have them going in the right direction.
Yeah, and you mentioned Brogan. I mean, so Brogan's a sophomore,
Right.
and Matt's a junior.
Yeah.
So both these boys are going to be returning next year.
Yeah, and then Carter Morrissey, who's a freshman, who sees
yeah.
a significant amount of time. And Ethan, I'm forgetting Ethan's last name.
Arnold?
Arnold, yeah.
Yeah.
He put up some points also, and he's a regular contributor for them. So the future looks bright for the basketball teams, which is
exciting.
nice. We wanted to mention Athletes of the Week. The athletic director, Mr. House, has included us in some of his correspondence on this. So each week we're going to mention the Athletes of the Week. For the week of February 4th, Hannah Crane was Athlete of the Week for the girls. She skis, slalom and giant slalom, and she was one of the few girls that actually scored points for them in their last meet.
That's awesome.
So where a lot of kids weren't even able to finish the course, she was able to do it. So nice job, Hannah. And then for the boys, Matt Place, and we had mentioned him in the Sauhegan game. He had 18 points in their 4-point loss. So he's scoring against the good teams.
That's good.
And Matt's battled through a few injuries this year, so that athlete's a little bit of a comeback player too.
Yep, yeah,
So,
he had that wrist injury, and he's watching Matt play is awesome because he's a grinder.
he's a
He's
grinder.
a
and
grinder. He's going to go out there. He's going to give you everything.
Yep, he's
all
very
the time.
passionate in all the sports that he plays. He's very passionate. See him on the baseball diamond, and
Sure.
he cares, and
Yeah.
we need that.
Great
Kingswood
kid,
needs that.
great night, and definitely contributing.
All right.
Red Sox. Oh,
It's
it's
time.
my favorite time of the season, Mike. So Red Sox spring training has started. We talked about last week the bus got down there. So pitchers and catchers have reported.
Yep.
And we're really excited for the upcoming season. I think we both talked about the fact that I know that we're homers, right? But we are, but that there's a good chance for them to be able to repeat. And it's not just because we love the Red Sox. It's because of their bullpen, because of their offense, because of their defense. They've got the total package, and they're positioned to give it a good shot of winning it again this year.
All right, so we mentioned bullpen.
Yeah.
And, a lot of talk this week about who is going to close.
Right.
Kimbrel's still out there.
Kimbrel is still out there. Yeah, Kimbrel is still out there. So what do you think? Kimbrel is still. Let's talk a little bit about Kimbrel.
Okay.
All right. At the end of the season, playoffs, I think you felt like me. You saw Kimbrel come in. You weren't overly excited with how he was pitching towards the end of the season.
Yep.
Right? It used to be lights out. It used to be no worries. Kimbrel comes in, game over, Red Sox win. Now it's Kimbrel comes in, how long until the bases are loaded?
Yes.
So
And then he would strike out the side.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So what are your thoughts? Why is Kimbrel not being signed by the Red Sox?
Well, I think it's some of the reasons that you talked about. I think he struggled with his control, and his first year with the Sox, and even his second year with the Sox, he was lights out.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
they were quick innings, and last year he got into these 30-pitch ninth innings.
Yeah.
And he got the job done most of the time. And we say most of the time, like 95% of the time, he was getting the job done. But I think as Red Sox fans, we all aged a little bit each time that he went out there. So is a guy that gets the job done but not cleanly worth $18-19 million a year?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page on that one.
So
but
who are we looking at?
well, I think Ryan Brazier
Yes.
is somebody that the Sox had last year. He when he got a chance to close, when he got a chance to pitch the eighth, pitched well. He's one of those hard-throwing guys. But Tyler Thornburg, and I think we forget about Tyler Thornburg.
Sure.
They picked him up in a trade with Milwaukee a
Right.
couple years ago. Got hurt, didn't pitch in the first year, pitched a little bit last year. And so he's supposed to be healthy, and he used to close for Milwaukee. Now, closing for Milwaukee is different than closing for Boston.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that's somebody. And then Matt Barnes is another, as a hard-throwing righty. So they do have some options.
So are you thinking that do the Red Sox have to name a closer? Or can it be closer by committee? Can it be a game situation?
I don't know of any team that has won with the closer by committee.
Yeah,
Role.
yeah.
I think defined roles in the bullpen are pretty important, especially for the eighth and the ninth inning. I think there's a mentality of closing game. That's why they call them closers.
Right.
There's a mentality when everything is on the line that do they have the
A lot of it's mental.
Right, the attitude.
Yeah,
the attitude to go in there and to come in the even the bottom of the 8th inning with 2 men on and 2 outs.
Yep.
That they got to get that guy. So, yeah, I do think they need to name a closer.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the same closer all year long.
Right.
If a guy's not doing the job, then
Someone else
you can bring
steps up.
somebody else. So that they have some possibilities out there, and that's what they need. They just need to have a few guys to go. They talked about Stephen Wright. I'm not.
Yeah, they
I
did
know
mention
that.
that.
I know that Wakefield closed for the Sox
yeah.
back in the 2000 season, 2001 season. I like to see a closer that can throw the ball near 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Not one that's touching 75.
Right.
And when Wakefield was doing it, yeah, he did well. He had like 14 saves that year.
Well, as long as your knuckleball's dancing, but if it's not dancing,
It's throwing
that's
batting practice.
that's a recipe. Yeah.
Even when the Sox won in 04, Folk was the closer.
Yeah.
And he was only throwing 90 at the time.
Right.
But he had that nasty split.
Right.
But it still made you nervous because one mistake. And it's a tie game or they lose the game. So I just assume when you have a hard thrower, and at least it narrows the amount of guys that can make contact. I mean, there's still some guys in a lineup of mistake. These are major league hitters, and they're going to hit mistakes. But at least it reduces the amount of guys that can hurt you.
I mean, and when you're talking speed too, we're talking like 98, 99, that speed. I think every Major League Baseball player can hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, next level speed.
Yeah.
That next level speed, like Evaldi. And they just got to get through the year. And I know if they are rotating their closers or they're going with the hot hand, it could work. Their bullpen does look different in the postseason, like we saw this year.
Sure.
They did not necessarily have a bullpen in a starting rotation. They had a Red Sox pitching staff.
Right.
And Price pitched out of the bullpen. Sale pitched out of the bullpen. Porcello pitched out of the bullpen. Evaldi pitched out of the bullpen. And so they really treated like a full staff. And so Cord did a nice job. He did a nice job. And it was that kind of manager that we see in the National League a lot, that whoever he felt that could get the outs, he put him out there.
Right. And obviously, I think once you get to the playoffs, you can do that. It doesn't matter. It's just all about winning then.
Yeah.
Now, during the regular season, I think you're right. You do want to have a closer. You want to position yourself for the postseason, so you want to be able to have people pitch in certain roles. I don't want to see Chris Sale, on game 42 coming out of the bullpen to close the game. We don't need to see that.
No.
All right, game 6, I want to see that.
But during the year, isn't it more offense during the regular season that gets the teams to the playoffs, and then in the playoffs, and
That's
the
when the
pitching
pitching,
staff?
absolutely.
And they have the offense. We've talked about it before in our previous shows that they have the offense. Mookie Betts looks like out of this world as far as his athletic ability.
Yeah.
He's winning bowling
See that-
championships.
see that latest video?
Dunking
Yeah.
basketballs.
Yeah, he's catching touchdown passes.
It's
that
crazy.
was pretty intense. Dustin Pedroia, we touched on him last week. All right, he's coming back. He's saying that he's 100%. All right, so he had the knee surgery last year. Now he's out. Did you see that? That he's also saying that he wished he hadn't had the knee surgery.
I saw that today.
Yeah,
I saw that.
So,
Microfracture surgery that he had is from what I'm reading, it's still kind of an unknown thing.
Right.
About what the recovery is,
Yeah.
what the long term. It's
because you're taking another person's bone and putting it into your body.
I don't even know the details.
Yeah,
so I
that's
don't
what
even
it was talking about, because he was going on and on about what the risk of infection and then and rejection, because you are taking, like if I ever needed it, maybe I could get yours. So
anytime, buddy.
All right, thanks, pal. But yeah, so Pedroia had talked a little bit about that. So what do you think, baseball wise? Where's he at?
Well,
Everybody's going to say they're 100%, right?
I still think he's their best second baseman.
Okay.
I think a 80% of Dustin Pedroia is better than 100% Brock Holt or 100% Eduardo Nunez. So he's still their best second baseman. I'm concerned a little bit of his. I always felt like Pedroia was a positive influence in a locker room.
Right.
And you read a little bit more that some of the younger guys don't take to Pedroia very well. And so you worry about that effect. They did win without him.
Right.
And
they did.
That's always kind of scary when a team wins without somebody and then they bring him back into the mold, or the fold rather. I don't know. They're planning on 125 games out of him.
Right.
If Pedroia is Pedroia of, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago,
Right.
it's going to, because second base was a hole for them last year.
Right.
They didn't have numbers from second base, and it was just a lot of rotation coming through there. And in your infield, you want to have consistency. So if they can get him for 125 games and he's positive, he's going to be wearing a brace all year.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But I don't know how that's going to affect. You don't see many middle infielders wearing braces.
Right.
So, do they need him? Do they need him?
I don't know if they need him. Because I'm a Nunez and Holt fan, so I think they could. I think if we can get anything out of him, I don't know what the Red Sox are thinking, but is it because he is Red Sox royalty? So they're continuing to say, okay, we're going to give you one more shot.
Maybe. And he's friends with Cora.
Sure.
They're about the same age.
Yeah.
So, that's probably going into the decision making, but I don't think they need him. And so I'm hoping that if he is not helping them win games, not just on the field but off the field,
right.
I hope they make a decision and move on. Because I don't think they need him anymore. We're not going to get the Pedroia of 07 and 08.
Right.
The Rookie of the Year, the MVP. That Pedroia isn't. I don't think he's going to be there. I mean, if he is, he's 36 years old right now.
Yeah.
And there's some miles in that body.
Yeah, he's an old man for baseball.
So and the way he plays all out, and it's if they can get 125 games and it's a positive 125 games, and the Red Sox are better for it.
Right. And I think too, if Pedroia comes back with maybe a changed attitude, and even if he can't contribute on the field, if he can contribute in the dugout, off the field, and it's that positive, PD that we all loved, and is able to lift up the other players around him.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then that way he can go out kind of on top as a Red Sox.
And lastly, before we move on,
yeah.
The way that he plays, I think it sells so much better when he's young. That scrappiness. It's tough to be scrappy at 36. When you got 12
Sure.
years in the league, and it doesn't look as scrappy. It just looks like
Old.
stop.
Right.
All right, so Charlie, we said we were going to have a little debate today.
Okay.
Because we agree on a lot of things.
We do. We agree on maybe too much.
But there's one thing that we don't agree on, and that is the Baseball Hall of Fame and how they handle with the steroid users.
Right.
And how these steroid users are getting voted in. And we know who the main players are, the Barry Bonds of the world and the Roger
Sure.
Clemens and so on. And so
Mark McGuire,
yeah. Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro.
Sure.
This is a pretty good-sized list. But I think those are the big ones the guys that actually have Hall of Fame numbers.
Sure.
And are not even sniffing at the Hall of Fame yet.
Right.
Because the votes aren't even close to getting there. So, all right, buddy, where do you stand?
So I do not believe, Mike, that if you used a PED or were accused of using a PED and admitted to it, you do not belong in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And the reason I believe you don't belong in the Baseball Hall of Fame is because the Hall of Fame, now, obviously it's part of Major League Baseball, but it's actually I consider it a separate entity. And this is where the legacy of the game, the history of the game, when you go into those halls, and you've been there, correct?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So I love going there. So when you go in there, you see guys from the early, or not early, but at the 1800s, 1900s, and you see this legacy of baseball, and then you say to yourself, these guys didn't do anything to their bodies to enhance themselves in order to be better. So I really struggle with that because the PED users made a choice by taking a performance-enhancing drug, and we can get into the argument as to why did they take that? Should they have taken it? Did they make a mistake? It doesn't matter to me. If you put something illegal into your body that is going to make you perform better on the field, it's unfair to the guy like you that didn't take that drug and is struggling. Because, Mike, if you didn't take it, maybe you don't have the same numbers as me who took PEDs. Maybe you don't have Hall of Fame numbers. Maybe you don't have 17-inch forearms. Yep. Great, you're in the MLB, you're a great baseball player, but you're not going to get the accolades that I have because I cheated.
Okay. I think you have very valid points, Charlie. So now, baseball's it's a historical game about numbers.
Sure.
Stats and numbers. More than any other sport, it's about the stats. And we have now a building that is holding the most famous baseball players of all time, the historically great baseball players, that doesn't have the home run leader. It doesn't have a Roger Clemens who won 7 Cy Youngs.
Right.
It doesn't have a Mark McGuire with 600 something home runs. It doesn't have a Sammy Sosa. I don't think Sammy Sosa should be in the Hall of Fame anyway, but it doesn't have those guys. And is it truly a Hall of Fame if he doesn't have the guys that are actually on top with their numbers? A-Rod, probably, I mean, based on what we've seen, probably not going to get there based on the way that the voters are voting on the PEDs. So do we actually have a Hall of Fame that is putting forth the best of the best? My argument on it is that I think they should go in, but I think it should say on the plaque,
an asterisk of some sort.
Yep, that played during so-and-so era, was accused, suspected of...
Well, we call it the steroid era.
Oh, steroid era.
Okay.
And some of them are, obviously more than others, and the smell of steroids is around, or the stench of steroids is around some of them more than others. And I think that the Hall of Fame, like you said, is a private entity. They can put whatever they want on the plaque.
Right.
And if they feel that that player is tainted by steroid use, put it on the plaque. Put it on the plaque, let him be there, but let the home run champion be there. Let the wins champion be there. Let our era guys. Barry Bonds was, not that when we were growing up, but when, as we were watching, or the Red Sox when I was growing up, in '86 with Clemens going, and, '86 all the way through the 2000 when Clemens switched pitch, he was the best pitcher in the league. He was, you bought tickets to go see Roger Clemens pitch.
I mean, I got a chance. I mean, I was in California for high school, so I got the Bash Brothers. I got Jose Canseco. I got Mark McGuire. So, I got to see that excitement. And I understand what you're saying, too. Like, kind of remember when it was Sosa McGuire going after the home run. And that truly, like, actually unified the country.
Yep.
It was pretty amazing. I mean, across, like, political aisle, everything, and to have that excitement. I still struggle, though, Mike. I mean, I see your point with putting the asterisk and saying you're a cheater. But it's just... It still puts a bad taste in my mouth by allowing people that did something against the rules knowingly. No one slipped you a PED. No one said you did this. It wasn't a one-time thing. They went out, they took drugs, they cheated, and then they broke some records.
All right. So what about the fact that before Barry Bonds was suspected of taking steroids, before Roger Clemens was suspected, they had a Hall of Fame career. Before they did. Now, what the steroids did is certainly extended their career and it inflated their numbers, but they were Hall of Famers before they started doing this. Roger Clemens had won 3 or 4 Cy Youngs before doing that. Barry Bonds had won an MVP before doing that. Does that change anything?
I mean, I think it goes back to I guess the point that you were trying to make, that if we're going to, I mean, I guess I could concede and say, okay, if we're going to allow them into the Hall of Fame, then they should be allowed on their pre-PED numbers. I mean, I think that would be fair. I don't personally have a problem with that, but I have the issue of I guess for me too with baseball, it's you have people in our country that look up to baseball players, and baseball, it's our national pastime, right? There's just something special and sacred about pure, sacred about baseball, and then all of a sudden it's been tainted, and it's just, for me, it's actually painful, because I looked up to these guys. I love Barry Bonds, I love McGuire, I love those guys, but then they've done something that there's a bad taste in my mouth.
I hear you. And I'm not saying that there's not a bad taste in my mouth either, but I look at current exercise regimens and current supplements that guys take, and that are quote-unquote legal, but are certainly enhancing their bodies.
Right.
And they're in the amount of training that is available to the current athlete was not available 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right.
I mean, 50 years ago, they were drinking beer and smoking cigarettes in the dugouts. So it's a much different look. And there's going to be something that's going to come out, that a new drug that is going to be legal for a little while, that people are going to take. It's going to inflate their numbers, and then it's going to be made illegal because it's inflating their numbers. So where does it stop? And I guess that's where I'm coming from, is where does it stop? Let's put them in. Let's say they did something, or we suspected they did something, because it is a private entity and they can do that.
Sure.
And let's move on. But how can we have a building that is supposed to be showcasing baseball history?
So they do, and you know this, they do showcase they do showcase Sosa, McGuire, Bonds. They just don't have a bust.
Okay.
Like they're not actually in the Hall of Fame, but McGuire's bat is there, for example.
Yeah.
So they're showcasing and they're not saying that these people don't exist, but what they're not giving them, the bust with the
speech.
with the plaque, the speech, the induction ceremony.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, some recent induction ceremonies, some of the people that went in were suspected PED users.
Piazza.
Yeah, so.
You said you went to Bagwell?
Yeah, I was there for Bagwell and Pudge, Rodriguez,
Yeah.
Ivan, so those are all people that are now actually in the Hall of Fame with busts that were suspected with the Mitchell report. So it's yeah.
How about David Ortiz?
Oh boy,
He
big
showed
Poppy.
he showed up on a list.
He did.
And
he did.
so, do you think Ortiz should be in the Hall of Fame?
I can't flip flop positions because I'm a Red Sox fan. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the Hall of Fame is going to do. They've backed off. It seems like they've backed off a little, but not for the big names though.
It seems like they're backing off of the really obvious users.
Yes.
Or no, they're holding their ground with the obvious users.
Yeah, Clemens is not going to get in,
and Bonds is not going to get in.
Right.
Sosa's not going to get in.
McGuire's not going to. Yeah, right.
Canseco's not going to get in.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have the numbers, I don't think, but
40-40, 50-50? Was he 50-50? 1 year was 50-50.
50-50, but 40-40 was pretty darn exciting.
And 50-50 was pretty good, too.
Yeah.
But so, I just, we talk about Ortiz, and we're homers. We said that at the beginning. And he showed up on a list.
Yeah.
Manny showed up on a list a couple times. He tested a couple times, so I would
Sure.
say Manny would probably be out.
Yeah.
But Ortiz, if you got to draw the line somewhere, and I don't know how they can fairly draw that line.
Right.
So maybe there shouldn't
I
be
don't know
one.
either. You know what I'd like to talk about sometime when we have more time? Let's talk about Pete Rose.
Oh, that's right.
We should bring that up maybe in a future show.
Yeah, let's see.
You talk about someone that has the numbers, but can't even. I don't even think he's allowed to visit the Hall of Fame. So.
Well, he puts his foot in his mouth, half the time,
He does.
too.
He does.
So it looks like we're going to be running out of time. So
Yeah.
real quick, that was fun, Charlie. Let's do that again.
Yeah, definitely.
Bruins, their top goal scorer,
Yeah.
ironically slipped
I don't mean
and
to laugh, but yeah, he slipped and fell on the ice and injured his thumb, and then had to have surgery, right?
So we'll just leave it there, I guess.
Yeah.
They're making a playoff push. They won the other night without him, and they're going to at least 2 weeks, probably 4 weeks without him.
Yeah.
They're going to have some holes to fill in. Right now, the Bruins looking like they have one good line, and then they have 3 third lines.
Right.
And that's tough to get it done. So they're going to have to do something differently. Celtics, there seems to be more and more drama with Kyrie every single week.
Lots of drama.
Getting tired of it.
Now he's injured.
But he's going to the All-Star game.
Yeah, go figure. He's got to hang out with LeBron.
I don't think it looks good for him coming back. They were 2-0 without him this week.
They were. I mean, well, they had those 2 awful losses to both LA teams.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Kyrie, Anthony Davis together?
In New York, I think it's probably going to happen.
Not in Boston?
I don't think so.
right.
I just, the more and more I'm seeing this, the more I think that Kyrie is going to be heading elsewhere. And the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to be okay with it.
Yeah.
I love watching him play.
Oh, he's great.
But the drama on the side is just, it's unbearable.
Yeah.
And, I like when they play as a team, they're a good team to root for.
Right.
And if they can get Hayward going again, if Rozier stays, and then the kids, if they could, they seem to, I don't know.
They've got a good core that's can gel together without Kyrie.
Yeah, and they seem to be a better team without him.
I agree.
So,
I think we're out of time, Mike.
all right. Do you have anything else, Charlie?
No, you have anything else, Mike?
I got nothing. So,
all right.
Thanks for watching Mike in the Hoss on Wolfeboro Community Television. You can tweet us at Mike in the Hoss if you have any questions or topics that you want us to talk about. And have a good night. Go Knights.
Go Knights.